Morning Show right here on ETV on this thankful Thursday. We're officially into the second hour of the show, and it's time for us to dive into some financial conversations. And we've decided to dive into the world of retirement. And a lot of us don't think much about it, but this will all change because the government is refocusing on a new retirement system that is dubbed the two-pot system. Now, joining me from South African Rewards Association is Feuvre, who will be breaking down what the system actually means for us as South Africans. Phil, welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
I think generally, you know, the conversation around retirement funds and retirement savings is a big one because I think for a greater part of it, people struggle with it. And for another part of it, people don't really understand what it means then to actually have access to your retirement when it is time for you to retire. Let's then just get into this conversation then and speak about this two-pot system that is being introduced and what it actually is.
Okay, so the two-pot system will actually be introduced on the 1st of September.
Yeah.
Up until now, we have what we call a vested pot. So that will be all your monies that you've actually saved up until the 1st of September in the vested pot. They will take, from the 1st of September, all your monies that you then pay into your retirement fund will be in two pots. One third will go into the savings pot, and 2/3 from then on will go into the retirement pot. And that basically means that over the long run, you will still have access to your vested pot, okay, minus the seeded amount.
Okay.
But from then on, you will not have access until age 55, earliest, to your retirement pot.
Okay. Let's then talk then about the percentage that will be then taken from what you've already accumulated in your retirement that will then go into the savings pot. What is it?
So basically, it is 10% of your amount that you've got in your vested pot to a maximum of 30,000 Rand.
Okay.
And that will be available and transferred from your vested pot into your savings pot on the 1st of September.
On the 1st of September. So if a maximum of 30,000 Rands is what you are able to withdraw, is this a once-off amount? How often will I be able to withdraw from the savings pot? And is there a time period that I have to wait for before I actually get access then to transfer or to get from my savings pot?
The amount which is moved from the vested pot to the savings pot is a once-off.
Okay.
Okay. So from then on, it's the amount which you save on your 1/3 that goes into that.
Okay.
And there's no maximum on that. So if you decide not to withdraw for a couple of years and you've got now 100,000 in there, you'll be able to access that.
So you will still be able to access the 100,000 Rands.
Correct.
But only
if you've saved it.
Okay. I want to understand this, and I want us to make it as clear as possible for our viewers, right? So even if you have then saved that 100,000 Rands, where does the 30,000 Rands maximum then
let's
come
use
into
an example.
Play? Okay.
So you have your, say for example, you're lucky that you have 300,000 in your vested pot at the moment. You move 30,000 across, and you are saving 3,000 Rand a month, of which 1,000 is going into the savings pot.
Yes.
So that means over the next year you would add another 12,000 to your 30,000, and that would give you 42,000. You can, in actual fact, access that once every tax year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from then on, say you took the 42,000, you would then start from scratch again with the 1,000 per month.
Okay. Okay. So this would then, you would have access to every tax year, I'm presuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Once every tax year.
Once every tax year, you'll have access to it. Okay, so let's then talk about in instances or cases where a person then either loses their job or decides to leave their job. What then happens in a situation like that?
Okay, they will still have access to the amount which is in the vested pot as per normal rules and regulations at the moment.
Okay.
They will then be also able to access their savings pot.
Okay.
But they won't be able to access the retirement pot.
The retirement pot, but you will still have access to the savings.
To the savings and your amount which is in your vested pot.
Why is it that this sort of system has now been one that is decided to be implemented?
I think this has been debated right back to the late 80s.
Yeah.
And what happened over COVID actually accentuated the need for access to savings within retirement.
Okay.
And it's basically a compromise which has happened now, that you can have access to some of your long-term savings in the event of emergencies, although that hasn't been defined. So in actual fact, you can take it.
Okay.
but we want to try and make sure that people don't use it for,
So are we not looking at then eventually being restricted to the type of reason you would actually want to get access to that savings?
That hasn't. That started off in the idea of the legislation.
Okay.
But when it was put forward and signed off last month, that is not in there. So it's not an emergency anymore.
Okay.
You can have access, which means you need to be educated. Members need to actually have education to make sure that they don't deplete their retirement savings unnecessarily.
That's very true, because I would imagine that, emergencies are quite subjective and relative to different people.
Correct.
I could just be needing tires for my car and I dub that an emergency, and I want to take money from that retirement, but ultimately a bigger emergency could come in the way, and now you actually don't have access to that money anymore, well, at least in that year. Let's then talk about when I then do decide to make a withdrawal. Is this tax-free? Am I being taxed? If I am, how much am I being taxed from the withdrawal?
Okay, unfortunately, because the amount of money which goes into the fund is not taxed.
Okay.
In terms of legislation, any amounts that you pull out will be taxed.
Okay.
And they will be taxed at your marginal rate.
Okay.
So that depends on your level of income.
Okay.
But yes, unfortunately, somebody says now, I've got 10,000 I want to access, but I have a 31% marginal tax rate. I will lose 3,100 Rand of that 10,000 and only be paid 6,900.
Sure.
No.
TMS family, we are with Phil right now. We are talking about the two-pot retirement savings, or well, plan rather, that has been implemented or will be implemented on the 1st of September. If you do have any questions that you would love to ask Phil, you're welcome to send those questions through. He is still with us and of course helping us, understand this idea a whole lot more and what it actually means to us, and how then we plan for our retirement. So Phil, in this moment, if I then have accumulated a certain amount of money in my retirement savings, I can imagine that from the 1st, then that 10% will be taken and then put into the savings pot.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
However,
and then from the 1st, I will have access.
However, there are certain restrictions which have to, or not restrictions, but things which have to happen.
Okay.
So, for example, on the 15th of July, all the different funds and administration have to actually have sent their new ruled amendments as per the new regulations. Otherwise, FSCA, who run the actual legislation, will not be able to get the laws changed on your particular fund.
Sure.
If that doesn't happen by the 1st of September, then you will not. So we are trying at the moment to make sure that everybody gets in their rule amendments to FSCA by the 15th of July to enable them to actually approve everybody by the 1st of September.
How do I verify that as a person that has...
okay, as a member of a fund, you must in actual fact make sure that you ask your fund, please, have you done that? And secondly, have all my particulars up to date, my tax number, my email address, and my cell phone number. Are they all up to date? To make sure that when you look at your statement and see how much you've got there, you can take that at 10% that's going across into the savings portion, that will happen then.
There's a lot that needs to be considered. But TMS family, continue to send through those questions. We are still with Feuvre, and he will be answering your questions when we get back. Stay with us.